All right. Welcome back to the Rock and Roll Ghost podcast. This week we have Chicago chef John Manion. He's the owner operator chef of El Che. Is it Steakhouse and Bar now?
Sure, El Che Steakhouse and Bar, El Che.
Yeah, I forgot because I know there was a name change. And then you've got. Are you still associated with the place in Berwyn?
No. I just helped Will set up Baby Gold Barbecue.
Gotcha.
That was kind of a coming out of pandemic thing. So they're Steve Dominic's running that now. I think they're in good hands. But I didn't necessarily have the bandwidth to. We got it up and running, but that's not mine.
Gotcha. And then now just open is Brasero.
Brasero.
Yeah, which if you had a chance to visit La Serena Clandestina back in the day, I can't believe I'm saying back in the day for something that doesn't seem that far away, but I'm gathering Brasero has some elements that you would have found there.
Brasero definitely has some La Serena DNA for sure.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah. What was the motivation to get another restaurant up and running? I know there was talk a while back of you doing different things with different people, and things kind of just changed. And actually, one of those things I interviewed you for an article for Eater that never materialized. It was back when Mark Stoyer was with you at El Che, and then he ended up opening Funkenhausen, and now you're in what was Funkenhausen. Kind of it's been a weird road, I guess, since the last time we've talked.
Well, I mean, it's just funny how things work out. Like I lived in this neighborhood for, I don't know, man, 25 years. And, I moved to Berwyn 6 years ago or so. My wife and I decided to start to raise a family. And I miss this neighborhood. And when the opportunity arose to step into this space, it seemed like a natural fit. Moss was a big part of my origin story here in Wicker Park, starting in '98. So, it just kind of felt like full circle coming back here.
Yeah. What was what started the idea of Brasero? Was it something you were working on? Was it the space came up and you're like, I like the space, I like the neighborhood, let me figure out what to do here? What was the genesis?
Well, I mean, honestly, my partners at Che were partners at Brasero or at Funkenhausen, and when that didn't quite pan out, they approached me first, and at first I was like, absolutely not. But the idea of coming back to this neighborhood was really appealing to me. I've always been big on West Town, Ukrainian Village, and love the idea of coming back here. Two, the older I get, the more wistfully I think I look back on like the Moss days, the late '90s, and I've taken this journey with the live fire Argentine food. But when I was a kid, I moved to Brazil when I was 8 years old, and those are really the memories that fueled this whole thing, my whole culinary career. When I moved to Chicago to try to become a chef, what I really wanted to do was explore those Brazilian flavors, and I did at Moss in the '90s, early 2000s. And during that time, I started to go to Argentina in earnest, and really fell in love with that method of cooking. But as you know, Brazil has its own kind of open fire charcoal cooking with churrasco. In any event, long way around the mulberry bush for your question. When this opportunity arose, the more I thought about it, the more I wanted to kind of explore the other side of the South American coin that really, really makes me tick.
Yeah. Yeah. I always forget, and forgive me for not knowing I mean, your family moved to Brazil for a while when you were young.
Yeah.
Were they did they have ancestry there or
No,
what?
no, 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 no. Both my parents are from Buffalo, New York.
Yeah.
Good Irish kid from, and I grew up in Detroit. 'Cause my dad worked for the Ford Motor Company, which is what brought us down there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Uncle Henry, as we called him, brought us down to Brazil. They opened a plant in the late '70s outside of São Paulo. So
Okay.
there we were.
Yeah. And you were there for how long was it?
About 5 years.
That must, I mean, it obviously made an impression.
It was a super mind fuck, especially
Yeah.
at that age. I had the world was so much bigger back then.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
The idea of Brazil was just another world
What was
completely.
it?
It made
Yeah. Sorry.
no worse.
Was it culture shock as a kid, coming from America to,
Absolutely. Like, I think that what kind of got me into food initially was, when I was a kid, I was super picky.
yeah.
All the things that gave me great comfort did not exist in Sao Paulo. So you found out pretty quickly that, lobster is pretty good, and
Yeah.
and and spaghetti bolognese is pretty good,
Yeah.
and all kinds of things are pão de queijo and picanha and chorizos, and all these things are pretty good.
Yeah.
So we had the opportunity to travel quite a bit too. And I don't know, as an expat, especially during that time, there wasn't, it's hard to, I feel like an old guy saying this, but there wasn't much else going on. So
Yeah.
our lives centered around, being with other people and mostly sitting around tables and, talking about food to the point where it became like, at dinner, we talked about lunch, and at lunch, we talked about dinner. And that was kind of it.
Yeah. Yeah. How old were you when you first tried wine?
Oh man. My dad was in the Seventh Army in Germany, so beer was really my intro to that. I would imagine in high school.
Okay. I wasn't sure if maybe it was down there because maybe they have a little bit of a freer European sort of mindset about, giving
No, I mean
kids a sip.
I'm sure I had a sip of beer along the way, but it was never.
Yeah.
I think that in Brazil it was way more caipirinhas and
Hmm.
beer.
Yeah.
That's what was happening.
Well, the reason why I asked about wine is because honestly, because of you, or you and your people and your restaurants, is not that I'm a connoisseur, but I've gone out of my way to search for South American wines, and
Yeah,
I'm not much of a drinker. I mean, I do like the occasional Italian and all that, but I found that the South American wines are, and maybe it's more of a modern age thing, but are quite extraordinary. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
At
Go
some
ahead.
juncture, coming back from the pandemic, myself and working with our wine director Alex Cooper, when we opened up Che, I always wanted to do an exclusively South American wine list. When we were at Mas and La Serena, we definitely veered towards
Mhm.
South American wines. Prior to opening up Che, I was in Mendoza for the first time in probably, I don't know, 8 years. And both there in Buenos Aires, I got the sense that there was this real fucking revolution going on in South American winemaking that like not only had a lot of young people who had been overseas working in vineyards all over the world come to realize that they had something really special in South America, but a lot of the bigger houses were understanding that what they have in the terroir, in the altitude and the sunlight, the amount of sunlight makes for extraordinary wines. So and there's a revolution going on both there in Argentina and Chile in terms of winemaking. So when we came back from the pandemic, we started tasting to rebuild the wine list, and came to the conclusion pretty quickly, like we can do this. We can make
Yeah.
this extraordinary wine list out of South American wines, and it's opened up all kinds of doors for us. It's been really amazing. I kind of liken it to when I was a young cook here in Chicago, going to Spiaggia and looking at the wine list and being like, fuck, I don't know any of this. And and people, because it was in Italy, there's more grapes and varietals and regions than anybody could ever possibly know.
Yeah.
but the staff there, the somms and the wait staff, they had the patience to explain, like, this is from volcanic soil, this is from here, this is from there, this is different. And we'll get you into something that's going to go with your meal. And I think that the same is true. I think that we're at the very tip of the spear in terms of understanding South American wine in the United States. I think that a lot of people in the US have a less than enthusiastic view of South American wines, that they're cheap and of low quality, but that's the furthest thing from the truth.
Yeah. Well, maybe this will start that revolution, but I can attest to not being a major connoisseur again, and every bottle of South American wine I've tried has been phenomenal. So, and I don't know what the hell I'm doing. So,
well, there is a school of thought that, like, there are no experts, just people who have taste.
Yeah. I mean, that can be said for most things, I suppose. Thinking back to your time when you were there as a kid, what was it what was it like for you to live there in terms of, what, as an American, what was the how did people look upon you? What was the political environment like at the time? Because obviously South America in general has gone, is finally come out of a lot of not that they don't still have trouble, but they came out of a lot bigger trouble.
Well, 78 was like, it was still a military dictatorship. It was the Brasero at that point, so that was in literally the hyperinflation. Money would literally burn a hole in your pocket. So I think that most people in South America, in Brazil at that time, had a positive to indifferent view of North Americans.
Yeah.
The thing about Brazil that's important, that I don't think, because we don't do a lot of trade, culturally, there's not a lot of back and forth between Brazil, at least Brazil and the middle of the United States, maybe more so in Miami and New York and LA. But Brazil is a country that has its own shit going on. They, like, to a great extent, I think that we have this idea that we're the center of the universe here, and that it couldn't be further from the truth in Brazil. They have their own musical identity. They have their own cultural identities. They have different regions, different cuisines within these regions, different, like, you think this is a melting pot. It's even more so in Brazil. So I think that, in terms of being viewed as American, it was positive or indifferent or curiosity, but there was no anti-American feeling at all.
Okay. Very good. Yeah, I'm sure around that time would be more Central America probably hitting us
for
more.
Sure. Yeah. Oh yeah. I do remember, and this has got to be, I guess it's 1980, traveling from Brazil. We had to come back to the United States every 6 months for visa purposes. And when we did that, we were allowed to kind of go anywhere we wanted to. So we went to visit the Panama Canal.
Yes, Noriega.
Yeah, well, the day that we arrived was the day that the Shah of Iran also arrived in Panama to start his exile, and the place was on fucking fire. There were just riots in the streets. So we mostly stayed in our hotel room in Panama, but there was certainly a lot of instability in Central America at that point in time.
Yeah. Well, it's not like it's doing great right now either. It seems to be causing a lot of headlines around our country.
Yeah.
Well, take me through. You've got the space. You had the space. You had the impetus for looking outside what you do at El Che Bar. How do you start focusing on what you want to accomplish at Brasero?
Okay, the creative process is different for everything. In terms of the vibe, it was very important to me that the space be totally different. This was not a coat of paint situation. The vibe needed to be completely different than its predecessor. So we started working with Siren Betty to work on the interior design, and I think that the jumping off point was, guys, it's imagine if you will, 1978 Sao Paulo, which means nothing to anybody but me, maybe. And even that's just kind of like, whatever memory means. But so we worked with them pretty diligently over the course of several months to come up with the design in this place, which I couldn't be more thrilled with. I think it's fucking breathtaking. We started working with Hi-Fi Designs for the graphic, the graphic design, which is not something we've ever done before at the inception. But for me, having a whole cohesive thought is really important. Like I said, that the jumping off point was Sao Paulo 1978 and everything that entails. So getting that vibe right even before you start cooking, for me is important. I need it to be a holistic thought. I always have menus written in all over the place. I have a running, Google Doc that's got lists of ideas and dishes. And then, I start to kind of like divide that up into different sections and thinking about how a menu could work or how I want to compose it. So I, wrote and rewrote a menu. Started working with the core management team here. 4 cooks, my CDC, Adam Meyer, Zach Ertz, and Melody Arnold, both the sous chefs here. We started cooking at Brasero probably about a month before we opened, and worked through everything several times. So that was really while I kind of wrote out all the ideas, super collaborative effort and the most fun I've had cooking in a long time. I haven't worked with such a talented crew, I don't know, ever. And they had a lot of influence on where the menu ended up. The baseline here, I talked about Brazil a lot, but for me, the baseline of food was just delicious, and it doesn't necessarily have to fit into it needs to fit into the Brasero box, but not necessarily anything else. And we can define what that is, as long as, there is what I see as a through line or a narrative to what's on the plate. So nothing seems bizarre or all over the place or random.
Right.
And I think we achieved that.
Yeah, I mean, I the way you're describing that makes me think that we're kind of in an era where either you're trying to we're going back to either trying to appeal to as many people as possible by kind of dumbing things down, or you're going to have to really zero in on specifically what you want and making that as perfect. And maybe, and I'm not saying anything you've done is not creative, but I think we've kind of stepped out of an era where everyone was just pushing each other to just one up everybody else and try, deconstruct this and deconstruct. There's still room for that, but I think there's more in need, especially in these uncertain times economically. It seems like getting your message clear and showing what you are and what you want to do, or you just need to go out and be some kind of version of, I don't know, bubblegum shrimp or something.
Yeah. I do think that there's, I've always been, I'm old enough to have cooked through a lot of eras of, what's popular or what captures the imagination. I think that when Michelin came to town, I don't know if it's the general public, but, certainly the media, the cultural elite started to consider, I don't know, what I would consider more intellectual food as more valid.
Yes.
So, when you see, if you talk about Michelin stars and that sort of dining and that sort of experience, I've never really been that interested in it. When El Bulli was happening and, leading up to, I was very interested in when I was young and got to eat at Trotters, but when El Bulli was happening and the subsequent iterations of that, that still has, still ripples through our dining scene, or the, the vernacular of what we consider fine dining. I know for me personally, I've always been well more interested in the visceral experience of dining than the intellectual.
Yeah.
So I've never, never dabbled. No, like
Yeah,
I've
well,
never,
I mean, there's certainly a place, for it, but I think what everyone was chasing El Bulli, back
Mhm.
then, and you had everybody trying to be,
I think that,
molecular
Brett,
gastro,
sure.
chef.
I think to an extent though, like people still are,
Yeah,
whether they know it or not.
well, there is that. There has to. I mean, I don't think that goes away, but I think what's happened is that a lot of the casual to not, to middling have been cut out. And with any fad, I suppose that's what happens. And then somebody chases a new fad, but
Yeah.
I'm not even sure what the hell a food fad would be nowadays. I've seemed
Well,
to be
I
out
think
of.
that I honestly think that we're living in an interesting time where, coming out of the pandemic, uh, there is, I think for a lot of the larger groups or larger restaurants, there is this need to provide comfort, to provide
Mhm.
familiarity.
Yeah,
That's why I think that we're seeing a lot of the same kinds of restaurants opening up, particularly
yeah,
in larger spaces, or we're starting to veer into a lot of larger spaces that are as much nightclubs
hmm,
as they are restaurants. And
yeah,
that's, certainly, like if you're interested in making money, that's a thing, and people seem to really like that.
yeah,
Uh, but I also feel as though there are a lot of mid-range, smaller places that, or independent restaurants that are kind of stretching their legs a little bit more.
yeah,
You
yeah, yeah.
I look at, like, what Erling and Josh are doing down the street. It's
Hmm.
not a dissimilar restaurant to this, where it's just kind of like, okay, this is the food we like, this is the environment we like, this is what we're gonna do.
Yeah,
And I think that people are going to like it as well. Otherwise, I wouldn't be doing it. But
yeah, yeah.
I can't say that it's a, you know uh it's a Kaya, or it's a Italian steakhouse, or, like, I don't know, like it's it is influenced by my time in Brazil, but I'm not Brazilian. Like,
Right.
these are just memories. These are just like, this is just a jumping off point for
Yeah,
how we're cooking here.
yeah.
So
It's
it is
homage. It's retrospective. It's basically trying to evoke, an idea, a feeling, a thought, and giving people something that, to enjoy, rather than, sitting there playing around with, ingredients, and, you know uh minimalist art, plating and all that stuff, I
yeah,
guess.
well, for sure. I mean, I don't know, like, yes, but my plating tends to be pretty simple, and the baseline is just like, I think that the goal here is that it's fun. It evokes a feeling from the room to the service to the food. People find
Yeah,
it comforting and maybe a little bit exciting.
yeah,
But like like I said, the baseline is, it's gotta be fucking delicious. One
right.
of the things that I talked about with the cooks when we started this is, and what I had hoped for is, how, like, you ever been to Giant?
I have not, no.
Okay, Giant is like one of those restaurants where it's just like, it's a lot of pasta, right?
Yeah,
But it's just kind of like, it's not Italian, and
right.
it's not all over the place. It's not scattershot. It's just like the through line there, the thread is, it's fucking delicious, and it's like soul satisfying, and it's just like nourishing. And that's
Mhm.
kind of what I wanted this to be. It's just the through line is, I can see that uh there are definite influences and bigger flavors and bolder flavors, and, acidity and spice. But at the same time, it's just fucking good.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. um you've gotten, from what I've seen, two really good reviews so far. Number one, I think Michael Nagrant wrote about you guys, I
Mm-hmm.
believe, pretty quickly, which he doesn't normally do, he said.
No, really,
uh
very quickly.
Yeah. And our mutual friend Tony Fitzpatrick raved about it when he went. So
Yeah.
I'm not expecting anything less than fantastic when I eventually do go.
Well, man, that's what we're shooting for.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Tony's, one of the reasons I'm happy to be back on Chicago Avenue is Tony is like I said, I spent years over here. He's a giant over here, literally and
Yeah.
figuratively.
Yeah. 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 how are things going so far since you opened? It's only been a little over a month, correct?
It's like a day over a month. It was a month yesterday, I think.
Yeah,
They're going great.
yeah.
I have no complaints.
Okay. Is there anything you're planning on doing that you have thoughts of that you'd like to try with the space or with the menu or with anything that you're toying with, but just want to get everything tuned in first before you
Well, I'll
start
tell you what,
going outside?
we spent about a month tuning this up. So like what I'm super concentrated on right now is just executing every day and fine tuning. And I think that the product we're going to play since day one is
Yeah.
pretty terrific. But I am definitely in the stage of we're going to keep on walking before we run. I'm super proud of the staff here and the product we're putting out, but like I don't have any ambitions outside of this. Like what are we gonna throw on a grill this summer? I don't know.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily one day at a time, but it is. We're just gonna focus on this right now.
Gotcha. Gotcha. Was it the last I haven't talked to chefs in a while, but has it gotten easier getting line cooks, or is that still a challenge?
It's always a challenge to get. It's always a challenge to get staff, but it always has been.
Yeah.
But it's certainly not like it was coming out of the pandemic. And I think that our culture is pretty good here, and that tends to attract good people.
That's good. That's good. Now, one question, and this goes back to something kind of Michael Nagrant has been focusing on a lot lately is media and influencers and all that. What's your take on? It's still a very hyper, food media, hyper Instagram influencer, what have you, era. That doesn't seem to have abated at all since I've left Eater. Um, what do you make of this, and how do you feel about it? How do you approach it? Just anything around those subjects.
I mean, like if nothing else, I'm a pragmatist. Like I understand that. I think that if you don't, how do I put this? I bend like a reed in the wind. I don't know. Like this is the world we live in, and I have been doing this a long time. I think that if you're not ahead of where we are, you're in grave danger of being behind it. I think that the way that quote unquote influencers work now are very different than say pre-pandemic, whereas it used to be like some spoiled rich vapid person would try to get you to give them free shit in exchange for a whatever post. It's not. I find that a lot of the influencers that I know or I've worked with are pretty thoughtful about what they're doing. They can help you reach a demographic that perhaps you would not be capable of otherwise. Is it a form of advertising? Sure, I guess. I think that you can pretty much vet who you want to sort of quote unquote cover you.
Right.
I don't think that it's necessarily their fault that conventional print media is dying.
Yeah.
So I don't know that I have any really strong, my grandfather's newspaper man. I love the written word. I love journalism. I love what Nagrin does. But I am not morally outraged by groups, people manipulating the system for their own gain. Like it's always been kind of, I admire his moral stance. I think that I wish that people would have the same standards. I think because he has such high standards, he's become a very important voice in he fills a void. He's a great writer, and there's really not many other people legitimately reviewing restaurants.
Right.
I don't know.
Yeah, no, it's become a weird thing because I mean, major publications, it's becoming obvious, are not filling their food writing staff with a budget to review like somebody like
sure.
Phil Fattel did. I mean, you know, the man used to go to almost every iteration of Next when he was was the dining critic, and there's no way the Tribune's going to do that, you know,
For sure.
similarly now.
But at the same time, like people don't fucking read the newspaper anymore. So
Right.
are you just shouting into the void? I mean, it's certainly like a review like Phil's, you know, getting a 3-star review back in the day would ensure butts and seats for a long time. It's not really the case anymore.
No, no.
You know, and in terms of like, I mean, I don't know, it's not payola, but the thing that we do as restaurant owners, probably the best thing we do is employ people and give them a place to thrive and work. And really our biggest responsibility is to them. So putting butts in seats. I don't have like I sleep pretty well at night. I don't spend a lot of time thinking about this. You know, like
no,
I need to feed my staff, and I need to try to turn a profit in this business. So you know.
Right. It's obvious though from something you said that you do vet people and you don't exactly take on all comers.
No, I mean, you know, the thing that that people are gonna like post whatever they post. It doesn't like whether it helps or hurts. It doesn't ever really hurt. I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that there's a lot bigger issues in our business right now that threaten our future than
such as
I'm worried about how we're going to navigate the elimination of the tip credit.
Okay.
You know, I think that the long rollout does not help us at all, because we don't have to make a decision to go from one thing to another as an industry. People are just going to try to navigate it alone, as we always have. So I don't know. It's just like and maybe there are some people out there getting filthy rich from owning restaurants. I don't know many of them, but it gets harder and harder in this city, in this state, to run a viable business. You know, I don't worry about but I eat out. These in terms of just a moral stance, like these random 3.5% charges added to checks that don't seem to actually go to the employees, but rather the bottom line. I think that's kind of a bigger story.
Right. That's definitely something that's post-pandemic.
Yeah, and that's a thing. You know, that's like ask people who work for these companies. It doesn't go in their pockets.
Right.
So I think that of like shady shit going on in our industry, like some kid wants to get likes, doesn't bother me.
Yeah. No, I was just curious because and you know, you keep hearing talk that the economy is getting better, but it seems like inflation truly hasn't, you know,
it's even
much.
out. It's even out. It's not like it was a year ago. Yeah, I think that I am optimistic about the future. I don't want to think too far ahead, but like things seem to be going. I mean, for us, things are going very well.
Right now, are you paying less for product than you were a year ago?
No, we're paying about the same.
Okay,
but it hasn't continued to go up.
That's the good thing.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of people are still thinking in this time that you still have places, companies that, you know, and maybe this is outside your purveyors because you work with a lot of local people, so it's understandable paying what they need because you know it's going to be quality, you know where it's going, you know where it's coming from, the whole bit. But a lot of companies, like the bigger companies that sell to restaurants, are still, you know, their prices are still exorbitant when they might actually be able to start bringing their prices down. They're just
no one's going to bring their prices down.
Yeah.
But here's the thing: you do have leverage, you have power, you have it's not, no one has a monopoly.
Right.
You can go out and spend the time and make a spreadsheet and figure out who's buying what and change purveyors. Fuck them.
Right. Yeah.
That's the way it goes.
Who do you
if you're not compromising the integrity of what you're doing, but like if you were talking about toilet paper and cleaning supplies and all the other shit we have to spend money on here,
right?
Yeah,
definitely. Who are you using for Brasero? Purveyor wise, or meat and etc.
Who do I use for?
Like purveyors, like for butcher, for your meat, for your who you
I
work with, what
I get
farms?
some local meat from Vander Farms, beef. Che, that's what we do is beef. I use Creekstone almost exclusively for beef. Um, and then meat, almost everything that we do goes through Whittingham and Elson.
Okay, wow, awesome. I grew up right next to there. That's why I'm
Oh
just
yeah,
saying wow.
yeah, I've been there.
Um, all right. There was something else I was going to ask you. Crap, if I can't remember what it was. Oh shit! Why am I blanking out? Um, I'll probably cut this out because I really am stuck.
No worries, man.
So you're not considering anything else at the moment. Near Brasero is where you're stopping for now, but do you envision 3 or 4 years from now? Do you see yourself getting a third?
I mean, yeah, there's all kinds of shit. Here's the thing: like opening the second has kind of there's a big jump from 1 to 2, which I've done
Yeah,
before, not necessarily well.
mhm,
Where you need to create an infrastructure that can support both and hopefully scale. So it would be easier to add a third concept or business to this model than it was to go from 1 to 2. So I don't really have anything. Well, I mean, I've always got ideas,
right.
but I don't have anything necessarily that I'm working on right now.
Gotcha.
I, you
Gotcha.
know, what I can worry about is like what's right in front of me right now.
Gotcha. Um, what sort of places have you been to in the last year that are hopefully still open that you've been particularly amazed by in Chicago?
I'm always gonna like, that it's no secret that Bouchon is like my happy place in Chicago. So
Yeah.
I've been there a few times. I think that Obelix, I had dinner on Sunday, fucking delicious.
Yeah.
One of the best meals I've had in a long time, and I've had this meal before, but like Haisu ate there recently.
Okay.
God damn, man! Like you like that. We serve a whole fish at Brasero, and we serve one at Che as well. I love like eating a whole fish is my idea of a good time, and
Yeah.
their whole fluke is like is one of the best dishes that I've ever had. It's
Yeah.
fucking phenomenal.
Yeah.
Um, I had, speaking of fine dining, I had a great meal at Kisama not so long ago.
Okay.
Those guys are just like ridiculous.
That's
Uh,
become an insanely hot spot.
oh, for sure. I mean, it's not far from here. There's lines on the block every day
Yeah. Oh yeah,
for their
yeah, yeah.
breakfast.
Have you been to
Uh,
Warlord?
Never been. No, I haven't been.
Yeah, yeah. I've heard good things, but I just after hot dogs, I've stopped waiting in lines for food.
No, me too. I'm super interested in what they're doing, but like, I got 2 little kids, man. I don't like, I'm not eating at 1 o'clock in the morning. Um, where else? I went to Maxwell Trading. I thought that was like, I love what those guys are doing there.
Yeah, obvious. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm glad to
Uh,
see Erling back behind the
the
line.
Woo.
Yeah,
Yeah, absolutely.
yeah, yeah. There, it feels like I've just ever since I stopped writing for Eater, I just kind of stopped trying to hit every new spot, and it makes me sad when I miss a place, and especially during a pandemic when they close. It's like, oh, I should have gotten there, and it's like, but I'm not in the city anymore, and I'm not writing about this like I was, so I don't have the ability to keep going out all the time.
No, I understand.
Yeah. Probably the last thing I gotta ask you is, have you ever been approached to do any TV cooking competitions, anything like that?
Yeah, no. I mean, yes, I have, but no, I'd rather not.
And any particular reason why not?
I talked to the magical elves. I talked to Top Chef years and years ago, and
Yeah.
this is during the Moss days, and that was early on, and I was kind of like, why the fuck would I want to do that? It seems awful. What
Understandable.
what could possibly come of that? And that was the season, and I'm not saying that I would have been on the show at
Right.
all, but that was the season that Steph won, and it was like, oh, I can see what can come of that. But now I
Yeah.
just don't. I don't. it's never been. I'm not like it's not why I do this. I mean, of course, there's things that, of course, I will do a lot to put the restaurant in front of as many people as possible. The restaurant's the business that we do. It's for a lot of reasons. It doesn't appeal to me. I don't want to be recognized. I don't want to be famous. I don't like. I don't. That doesn't fill my bucket. That doesn't nourish my soul at all.
Well, I'm guessing. I don't. I'm guessing you're not exactly a big fan of competing in terms of cooking. It feels.
No, I'm not at all. Not a fan at all.
Yeah. Have you ever been a competitive type person in sports or in general?
I think that I'm not competitive, but I am in fact super competitive. All I want to do is win. So yes, but I think that, for me, there's certain things that you do for yourself and there's certain things you do for other people.
Right.
For me, this is all about nourishing people and making other people happy. So I don't like that competitive, making that into some sort of competition doesn't make any sense to me at all.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know. It doesn't. And also sense. Watching a cooking competition show on television, and certainly I've done it, but like, you can't fucking taste this. You can't smell it. Like, how the fuck? How do I know? Like, it's just entertainment. It seems like, if you're gonna watch a football game, you can see who wins at the end, right? Like,
right.
Just like judges saying shit smelled, tasted, looked good. Fuck is that?
I get that. I can definitely understand that. Okay, one more. You are married, father of 2 children.
Mm-hmm.
You own 2 restaurants, so I'm guessing there's not much room for much else. But when you do have time for yourself, what do you typically like to do?
Oh shit. Well, I haven't had a whole lot of time at all in the last 6 years. So I would, I remember liking to travel. It's funny, after opening a restaurant for 2, traveling, I remember being fun. I remember going out and seeing a lot of live music. That's not something that happens to me anymore.
Yeah.
I used to see like every fucking movie that came out, and it's funny. I was just talking to a friend of mine, and he was saying, "Oh man, I just saw Dune 2," and I'm like, "Well, I went on Monday and Sunday." He's like, "How the fuck did you do that?" And I was like, "I took the day off. Like, I had to actually." I told my wife, like, "This is what I'm doing.
Yeah,
I'm going to the movie theater. I'm going to sit in the dark for 3 hours, and no one can fuck with me. No one can bother me." It was a little slice of heaven. So, yeah, normal guy stuff, I guess.
Okay. Right.
But now it's like it's a lot of kid stuff.
Yeah,
which I also enjoy.
Yeah, no, well, sure, you wouldn't have had them if you weren't going to enjoy it.
Oh, you might be surprised.
I raised one. Trust me, I
enjoy it.
Yes, I know. What did you think of the movie?
Oh, that was fantastic.
Yeah.
What I thought about that movie is like, how come all like, why can't other people, like, there's so much fucking bullshit out there. Like, it's everybody really operating. And I mean, of course there's holes and whatever, but there's also like sandworms and spaceships. So I'm willing to suspend a lot of belief.
Right.
But yeah, it's beautiful. It's well acted, well directed, all the crafts amazing. I think as an old guy and a fan of cinema, it's fun to see Denis Villeneuve just kind of like go off on all these influences, like David Lean, Star Wars, Apocalypse Now, all these things that like he obviously loves. And it was fucking, as a film nerd, it was cool to see that all to come together.
Yeah.
No, and also some shit you've never seen before.
Yeah.
Right. It was really, there's very few, I honestly, not since The Empire Strikes Back have I like wanted to sit in a movie theater and watch it just over again. Right. I just want to I'll watch that right now. Another 3 hours. Fuck it, I'm in. I thought it was good.
Yeah, I'm eager to go see it one more time myself before it leaves theaters. because you know the first one and this one are just such incredible experiences on the on the large screen. It's hard, even with all of modern today's modern technologies. It's not easy to replicate at home.
Yeah, no, I saw it in like a Dolby theater,
Oh,
whatever
me
that's super
too.
high end. And I will tell you, there were some like sounds that actually startled me,
Yeah.
which was fucking cool, you know?
Yeah. No, I love the Dolby theaters. They're the best. If you're gonna see a big movie, like that, you got to see it in a Dolby theater.
Yeah, you know what? I went to go see it in IMAX, and the guy was like, "Dude, you should actually see it in Dolby. I think it's better."
Yeah. And then I mean, but if you could see it in 70 millimeter IMAX, which I don't think
Hmm.
anybody here has it, like Music
No, I think
Box
it's more
has it
like
in 70
Indianapolis.
millimeter. There's IMAX, but there's not both.
No, one of my sous chefs went and saw Oppenheimer like Indianapolis to see it in 70 millimeter IMAX. I'm
Right,
like, dude,
right. It didn't even play here in that format.
uh-uh.
It played in 70 millimeter film here, which I got to see, which was cool, but
Oh
nowhere
wow.
near here. Yeah, it was kind of a bummer. I would have liked to have seen that.
Although somebody told me Dune is showing 70 millimeter film. The music box is that?
Yeah,
Does that
no,
seem?
yeah. I had just said that. Yeah, I mean, I don't
Yeah,
know
yeah,
if
yeah.
somebody else told you, but yeah, they're
Yeah,
showing it
no,
there.
no, that would be cool.
Yeah. All right, man. Well, I'm glad everything's going well for you. It's good to catch up. It's been a while.
Yeah, man.
Uh,
Thanks for taking the time.
no, thank you. I'm trying to get back into talking to some chefs because I know you guys need every bit of help that you can get, and if I can help
Hell
in
yeah,
any way, that's fantastic.
yeah,
And I'm
man.
looking and I'm looking forward to coming in at some point too because I
Let me know.
really I love I love your food. I mean, I still think about the La Serena pork Milanese that I had with an egg, and I'm like Guy Fieri in the fact that I am not a fan of eggs,
Yeah,
but I
that was
liked I liked your egg.
that's something we might do again someday. Not here, but who
Yeah.
knows?
Yeah.
Who knows?
All right, John. Brasero is now open. Go check it out. El Che is still open. Go check that out. Thank you very much for taking the
Thanks,
time.
Brett.
Best of luck to you and hope to see you soon.
Appreciate it, man.
All right, talk to you later.
All right, bye bye.
All right, bye.